a book of like 50s advertisements, I'll flip through something like that and my mind will start like ping ponging all over the place.
I got some old Playboys if you want to.
I'll take them.
I mean,
Yeah,
like I love, yeah.
absolutely.
That's why I kind of like reading the articles too these days and seeing what still lands and what doesn't and what's an absolute fucking mess and like just like there's some that like the art or that the ads are I'm like so interesting looking at old
Well,
marketing
that's
ads
that's
too.
like the cool thing about like old ads and like old magazines and stuff like that. It's like whether or not it's cool now or
Mm-hmm.
impactful now, uh, is not as relevant to me as the fact that it was. It for
Oh,
sure was.
yeah.
Like, this is the way when you look at, like, old magazines and you see the illustrations in there, like, man, people had, like, style back then, and, like,
Mm.
this was the thing. And there was no AI, there was no and so if it was cool then, it could probably have impact now, especially with, like, some time that's passed, you
Yeah.
know?
Things tend to cycle back through, right?
Mhm.
They're like trends. Yeah, I do want to touch on AI too. Like, I felt like a little smirk coming on even just by asking you about
Well, so
this.
here's my
Like,
thoughts,
the,
and,
yeah.
like, I laughed about it when you were texting me about it because on Instagram, all I see is like artists like raising Cain about, I mean, they're like, there's dudes that I know that are like beside themselves over this whole AI thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, fuck, not only will I never ever use it, but you mustn't. Nobody can. And that's just not going to happen. Now, I definitely don't think because that's not going to happen, we should all just pile on. I don't think that's a good way to live life either. But here's my thought on it is so much of what I do is commissioned artwork. And like back when I was tattooing, people would bring in reference material. They used to always clown on like Pinterest. Pinterest
Mm.
was like starting to like pop off
Mm-hmm.
about the time that I was leaving. So people would bring printouts from Pinterest. I still get that shit to this day. I started a mural company a couple years ago. And the idea behind that was like to take my face out of it and just have a contracted company
Mm-hmm.
that, you didn't have to know who I was. You just needed a mural company to come out and hook your business up with whatever. And so those clients will bring me AI material often,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Help
It's
get the juices going or
yeah, and it's not every client, but it's a certain type of person. They want to do their own research.
mm.
They want to produce their own reference material. They want to get it how they want it and then bring it to somebody who can
Yeah.
produce it.
I think that so using it as more as like a tool or an assistant versus like the whole thing. Cause I mean,
Well, I don't care as much.
okay.
I'm not trying to leave my impact on somebody's personal business,
Mm,
client facing mural that they hired me to do. That's
yeah.
not my job. It's not my job. So that's how I feel about it. Like my job as a contracted artist is to give the customer what they want. And if
Mm-hmm.
what they want is AI, fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
It typically has to be gone through, especially if it's anatomy and edited, because AI is still wonky in that regard. Now, w- would I use it for my own works? Probably not. You know, um, I just think for me, that's like kind of a slippery slope. It's like, oh, well, I can use it to like kind of dress up this area, and I have,
Mm-hmm.
and commission pieces in particular. But this is what I recognized about it. It's so easy to start plugging in prompts to help you out with this aspect or that aspect. And the next thing you know, you've constructed your whole piece with it. And then what are we really doing here at that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah, for sure. Is it like I mean, the expression of it. Yeah, I use it sometimes for like podcast descriptions
Mhm.
or question ideas or something.
Yeah, we were talking about that over text
Yeah.
too, like Opus and editing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I edited a reel last night and I was thinking about it, especially, as I was doing it, especially because we had just talked about it. And I was like, I want to see how long this will take me because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times I just zone out, especially if it's like at nighttime and I'm in bed, just making it. And it took me, I don't know, maybe an hour and 20 minutes to like take all these videos that I had and make a cool reel out of it. And so I think it has incredible potential to help us out, make our lives easier.
Oh, I mean, Opus did for sure for me.
Will it remain that way? I don't know. I mean, that's what like Sam Altman and et al., all these characters that are in this AI world, that's the line they're feeding us, is this is meant to relieve everyone
I like
and
relieve some pressure.
yeah, well,
Mm.
they're not saying this outwardly, which is this is the irony to me. It's like what they're describing is really like a, if you're a conservative, like a socialist hellscape where nobody's working and AI is doing all our jobs for us, and we're just kind of like kicked back, getting like waited on by AI butlers, and
See,
nobody's.
I heard increasing the expectation of output may be because if you can plug some things into AI or you're not keeping up with the Joneses as far as like what you can outsource to AI, like or the expectation of work output,
It seems
both could exist that way.
scary to me right now. Like, I think any loss of job
Yeah.
is not good. Uh, in 20 years from now, let's talk about like the editing thing specifically. In 20 years, Hollywood's probably going to be
Mm,
no more cinema editors. It'll all be done through AI. And that means little to Kristen or John, because you're a writer and I'm a visual artist, but to people that work in film,
yeah,
Lord
it's
knows how many
huge.
people are in that role. And so we don't hear about the fallout from that. But when will it come and touch what you do
Mm,
for a living or what I do for a living? I don't think ever. I think like art will always need to have that human vehicle behind it to be received well. Um,
yeah, the heart. I think it's the heart
yeah,
behind the art. A lot of it for
but
me.
you know, mortgage underwriting, does that need to be done by a human? And if not, like, what happens to all the people that
Mm,
went to school to be loan officers or whatever?
mm-hmm.
Are they all fucked?
Or
And it,
brought, yeah,
yeah,
or brought to like a choice where
where
I
do they
mean,
go? I mean, that's a lot of
yeah,
people
yeah.
transitioning out of like their career. And that's a lot of people scrambling to find something
Yeah,
else.
I guess it depends on how they choose to look at it. Like,
Mhm.
does it provide them the opportunity to go after the art or whatever, or what
Yeah.
other job that they may have that may not have been as quote safe whenever they set out? Or is it like that, oh shit, got to find something else that maybe I don't like as much?
And I love that perspective, and I don't think that way, and so, like,
I kind of, I'm usually like, what's the silver lining
so
of the,
you and I were at a concert
Red Clay
recently
Street? It
with
was
like
so fucking
with a
good.
mutual friend, right? And
Ah,
like there were a couple times during that concert where you would lean over and you would say XYZ about the band, right? And I remember all 2 or 3 times you would say like, "Oh, I didn't know these guys were Christian." And I said, "Well, they're probably not," right? Like
Boy, or
like that
something.
like it's some hustle, right?
Yeah.
Because like like it just
Mm.
seems like we're in like grifter nation right now. Like everybody's like pulling one over, all our
Mm.
politicians are like, and it seems like that's what's happening in like the corporatocracy of America. Everybody's in this cash grab.
What's hot right now? What do we need to
Well, it's almost
align
like
with
there's
type of thing?
impending doom coming, and so it's just like, how do I make my billions of dollars and, like, fuck the environment or
Mm.
whatever, this or that. That's how I can look at it sometimes, and so I walked away from that concert thinking, you have a really good outlook on life, and you kinda have to
Some
be
days, most days.
exposed.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to be exposed to that sometimes, or else, you can venture into that, like, dead end road that is
Mm.
pessimism,
Mm.
and I think now it's probably more important than ever to have a sense of optimism.
Mm.
And I walked away from that concert thinking like, wow, Kristen has a really optimistic
Oh.
outlook on in this small window that we were
Yeah.
exposed to. But it was so different from my current worldview. And I carried it into that concert. So I'm watching this guy talk about like God and Christianity or whatever his like soup du jour was, and I'm like,
Said
skeptical,
yeah, he said
you
something
know?
about, having that they weren't a Christian band, but they were a band of Christians.
Mhm.
And it just hit for me that morning or that evening, because that morning I'd asked for a sign. Because I'm like, fuck, I'm like, do I keep doing the podcast? Do I change its name? Like, do I, because of like censorship, but I
Mhm.
love it. I love the topics. Like, do I keep at it? Like, I was like, fuck. I'm like, it's more of like a crying, like defeated, like, I'm about to throw in the towel, like, you gotta show me something, whether I need to, like, switch gears or keep on,
Yeah.
giddying up along, and then hearing their story felt like a sign, and then, like, a couple of other things have come through since then, like a friend reaching out or someone that's been on there's like, "You lead from a compassionate and curious place." I keep at it, so I'm like, "Okay, I hear you," and my views have totally shifted them from what I grew up around to now, but, yeah, it was just, like, very much, like, that concert moved me so much and in so
It
many
was
ways.
man, it was a badass concert, and, that guy makes incredible music, and his
Mhm,
band is all into it. They
mhm,
all seem like they wanna be there, um, and they all seem like, it was, like, from the heart, so that's gonna have impact, and of course, like, being from Texas, I've grown up and been exposed to both sides of the aisle,
mhm,
the Christian belief, and then, more agnostic or atheistic or
mhm.
whatever, and so but yeah, when I think about my own, like, creative career, I feel like in so many ways, I made it really really difficult, hard on myself to go do something else, especially, like, once I started, like, tattooing myself up in when I did that for a living, I kinda came out of that going like, "Well, I look a certain way. I'm not gonna be able to, like,
Oh, yeah.
go do this or go do that,"
And you mentioned earlier that it was, like, safety related potentially, like, do you think is that what you think
well, when I think
reflects on?
about, like, safety, I mean, I just being able to keep your bills paid
Yeah.
for the prospective future,
No, no, or
So
like, said something about face tattooing as a way to keep safe or, like, put it
oh,
on an
yeah, yeah,
image or
yeah,
something, or
like, I think that I thought that the world was, like, a wildly unpredictable, spooky place, even as a little kid,
Mm.
but I don't know. I just had that little dog in me even as a child where I was like, "I'm gonna do." It's weird. It's like I wanted to do my own thing, but I also felt like it was definitely not the, pragmatic route, and the
Mm,
the older I got, the more I, like, realized that. I saw that, like, back when I was tattooing, and it's not this way for so many people, but for me, I felt like when I was tattooing, I was looking around at, like, some of these older cats and, they didn't always seem like they wanted to be there. They seemed like they were in pain, their back hurt, their
mm.
wrist hurt, and they're, like, grinding out these tattoos on some, drunk co-ed or whatever, and it's like, "Damn, dude, is this how it's gonna look for me?"
Mm.
Um, so I've just kinda, like, frog hopped up to where I am now, and, like, as more and more time passes, I hope that I become uh, better at executing my my art, my vision, even if I don't always know what that is.
Yeah. Oh, and that's kind of brings me to my next question is like, what is your vision? Or like what you see it as today. It doesn't have to be like clearly because it's so malleable, right? It can shift as we evolve and change.
Yeah. Um, yeah, definitely can. I mean, you could have an art show uh yearly and each one could be as different from the last as the one coming up. So, but I think as a man, you develop one and carry these like values through life.
Mm,
And values are really what makes us who we are. Like our belief system and what we represent and what we try to adhere to is our true north. That's like the place that we always go back to. So when I think about making original works, it's how are my values reflected in the environment around me, and am I seeing the values that are important to me reflected in the world around me, and if not, is that might be a problem for me. And so
mhm.
then your art becomes more about saying like this is a thing that's going on, and I don't think it's right. You know, this is like what I believe in. At least for me, my vision of the type of art that I want to produce over 2026 would be that, you
Yeah.
know.
What's like what's your number one or number two value? Like for me, courage comes up. And I'm like,
Courage is a good one.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. I probably wouldn't like I'm not like reflex to think about that, but
mm-hmm,
I do think that that's important. Um or at least like, you know, however you want to like whatever synonymous word you want to pick, stamina, resilience.
mm-hmm.
They're all like kind of in the same bag, but you know, I think that this is like part of the human condition for us to, we worry about what other people are doing a lot of times, and that in and of itself probably isn't too problematic, but when you start legislating around that
Mm.
and start trying to like control what this population or this group or this minority population is doing, that's not good. You know, that's not a good thing. I think a lot of people they like this idea of sameness in America where everybody is kind of like doing the same thing. We all look the same way, but
Mm.
that's not cool.
Mm-mm.
You know, that's like when you atrophy and die as a population of people is when you don't have variety or opposition to your belief systems or I sit here saying like I'm seeing a lot of things that I don't like, but w- to an extent we need that. You know, I don't mean
Mm.
like I need to snuff that out and silence that either.
Yeah, I think it provides the contrast.
Right.
For me, it's like the different flavors of. I kind of like to think we're all gods experiencing ourselves and one another, and like how do we get
Mm.
to experience different expressions of ourselves if there's not contrasting views, colors, hues, all that. We've got to wrap up. Is there anything else that you want to share, like how to connect with you? Any lasting words or what you want to leave
Yeah,
peeps
so
with?
I mean anybody could find me on Instagram at Jon McKenzie. It's just JONMCKENZIE. Um and yeah, you know, if you wanted to like I don't know, if you watch this and you were interested in
Yeah.
my art, my story, you can follow me there. I'm going to try to get better about like social media and bringing people that follow me like into my
Mm,
world
mm.
as like, you know, I kind of like gag at the idea of being like a creator. When they talk about like a creator or like influencer, I like I'm not like not into that, but
Inspire. Yeah.
yeah, but I feel like it's like necessary to do that now. So if you wanted to follow along, like that's what you can anticipate over 2026
Mm.
is original works and kind of a peek behind the curtain, as it were, of like what it looks like to be a working artist.
Cool. I'm like, how do I, yeah, I want to see your original works. And there's a part of me that's like, but I also want to commission you to do something. And probably not Boudreaux, but
Maybe,
yeah.
dude, I might be getting a French bulldog. My buddy breeds them, and he
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, and he offered me one for
Boudreaux. Oh,
free,
yes, you
and
told
they're,
me that.
yeah.
Boudreaux needs a little buddy and we can take him on play dates.
It just I get
Let's wear that fucker out.
yeah.
He's my,
So
I mean,
we'll see. I'm
I
about
love
to
my
move
little
to
shithead, but he's a shithead sometimes.
I know nothing about them,
Oh,
you
well,
know? I
buckle
just
up.
know that they're
No.
expensive, you know, and
They
somebody,
can
like,
be.
offered me
I've had
one,
good
and
luck as far as health, but
I'm like, "Oh, well, should
yeah.
I, like, take him up on his offer?" I've never wanted a French bulldog before, but we'll see.
All right. Well, I hope you get it. Thank
Hey,
you.
this
It's
was
been
fun.
fun. Is it bye?